Hello, everybody. This is Julie D. from NordoniaHills.news, and you're listening to Nordonia We Need to Talk with Andrew Gordon and Julie D.
Yes,
Hi,
hello.
Andrew.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going.
How you
We're
holding up?
Zooming.
How you holding up in the COVID situation we're all going through?
Well, it's unprecedented, and it's kind of like people have gotten into like a new normal. There for a while when it first started, every day was like, oh, now what? Now what? And now it's kind of like, when's this going to end? Are we going to kill people in our house with us because we can't get out much?
It's really funny because I'm a homebody, and if I had to choose, I would choose being home. Like as an introvert, that's how I recharge. Although I'm extroverted, I like talking to people and being out, but I recharge the introvert side by going inside. But I've had enough of this. At first it's like, hey, great, hang out, sleep in. They're like, no, it's like, gee, where is civilization? Where is everybody? I need that too, right? We need balance. So enough of this. Too much already.
I know. I think everybody's like organized their closets and, did the list of stuff they really want to do, but never get around to it.
You know what's
I don't
crazy?
know.
Like you're a responsible adult with children and a household. I have a dog and I'm married, but I have no children. So my wife works from home, and nothing much for her in terms of her routine every day has changed because she works from home.
Right.
For me, it's changed because I don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
So you said you've been finding things to do. My challenge is I'm either all in or nothing. That's just how it is for me. So I will just deteriorate into just being a blanket. Like I'll just be like useless. And that's basically how I've been up until today, because we scheduled this podcast and actually
I pulled you out of that.
no, you did. And I feel very good today. I feel more engaged in the day and just communicating to people. I'm the general manager of YogaSix in Macedonia College, right? So we've discussed that before. But the reason I bring that up is because we started initiating some new live stream stuff, some classes that will come out. But we're joining forces with like 3 other cities where there's locations around the country. So it's like talking to all them and just getting perspective and communicating outside of what's going on just within home. It's just so nice. It's so invigorating,
Yeah,
rather
I'm really enjoying the extra time because I'm getting caught up with social media training, and I'm starting some new things, and there'll be some announcements soon about some new things that we're doing. And it's really given me an opportunity, for that stuff. I'd love to do this when I have time, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, now we have the time.
Yeah, and we wish that it was for, something better that we could celebrate having downtime. Unfortunately,
Right.
It's not. But if we look at it from what can we look at that is good, right? I mean, what can we take away that has been useful, or how can we make the best of it? We didn't choose
Right.
the situation. It would be the chance to kind of slow down, because after 4 weeks, whether you are scatterbrained and you're someone who can never slow down, after 4 weeks, the brakes are on, whether you like it or not. You are slowing down. You're reflecting, whether you're not a reflector. It's happening.
I like making something good of this, and even if I don't think we should be like constantly training and learning. I think we should take the time, like you said, just have some time where we're not doing anything, read a book that you didn't have time to read, or just meditate, or, get into yoga now, I think we should take this and make good of it and enjoy at least a little more relaxing time. We're in Newberry now, right? Where there isn't much going on.
Well, wait, where are we? Wait,
Newberry.
I'm at Progressive Field. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying in general. I must make a comment
Oh,
about our back.
you're talking about Mayberry.
Oh, Mayberry. Yeah. Why did I say Newberry? Oh, because I know someone. Newberry is actually a real place. That kind of reminds me of Mayberry.
Is it kind of sleepy, like Mayberry?
You
Simple?
know, it could be. I don't know. I don't live there, but it is a real place. But I should make a comment on our backgrounds because your background has tons of people. It's from a snapshot in time where there was a lot of people, and mine, is Route 82. I don't know, it was probably like a week ago, at 4:30 p.m. when there's usually a ton of traffic, and there's nobody in my picture. So I think our backgrounds that we chose are kind of funny.
Yeah, yours is reality, and mine's where I wish it would be, which would be sunshine at the baseball field and baseball season's in effect. Because that's what I would think I'd be enjoying right now had everything kept going as part of the course, right? But it's not.
The big question is, when is everything going to come back?
Do you think? And no one's a fortune teller, right? Like we would all be telling everyone if we knew exactly when and how that could be possible. But do you think that this current order of opening, which I think is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it May 2nd? May 2nd is the one?
It's the beginning of May. I don't remember that. I thought it was May 1st, May 2nd. I don't have the exact date, but
do you feel it's going to stick? Do you feel in your heart of hearts?
I don't think the school is going to come back, and everything is keyed off of school. From what I've heard.
Okay. So
I don't believe the school year is going to be. I don't think it's going to happen. And maybe
there's only a month left, right?
I know, right?
What are you going to do?
Well, and some people are saying if school comes back in, the beginning of May, they're not going to send their children anyway. So not all the students will be there.
Yeah.
So, again, nobody knows. This is just my personal opinion. I think the school year is done. Well, and actually the students are actually doing online work. So there's still school happening, but I don't think the kids are going to be in the classrooms this school year.
I don't think so. I agree with you 100%. If you're just going to open up for less than a month, 23 days or whatever it is left in May, to actually go through the process of getting everything back in order, by the time you did that, it would be like, hey, have a good summer, everybody.
And can you imagine how the schools are? They're going to have to know ahead of time so they can get things set up. One way or another, which way is it going to go? They're going to have to know ahead of time.
Well, yeah. Even with we have a small business, right? And we, of course, when we get to like maybe a week before we think things are going to open back up, we're going to make our plan, or even before that. But the truth is that could change. You want to be prepared, even for, we're talking about a small business. We're not talking about a school system, which is, school systems around the state, which takes infinitely much more preparation and moving pieces. So that's just unfathomable that could be something that would happen. Even if we do open up back for business, right, that everything opens back up on May 2nd, I can't see logically why the schools would open back up for the rest of the month. I really don't. I'm not sure why that would even make sense in any possible way.
Well, I think some people are saying that there are some things that they could do if school would come back for the seniors, because there's a lot of things that need to be done for the seniors.
Very good point.
But I don't even think that's going to happen.
Did not think of that. That's a very good point. Yeah.
There's just so many people affected by this. We could have the whole podcast about this, but my idea of the podcast was to have something for, to entertain people that they can listen to, or, we might be able to put this on YouTube. They might be able to see us talking. But we want to entertain people because they don't have anything to do, right?
You can't, what are you going to, you can go out where? There's nothing to do. Like, I'm dying to get my hair cut. I know that sounds so crazy, right? Like, why would that even be a concern?
Right.
But because it's such a simple thing that when you can't do it, then it becomes a bigger thing. And you're like, wow, I can't go anywhere to do something as simple as that.
Well, what's funny about the whole haircut thing is I probably only get mine cut like once a year, and I got mine chopped off
right before
they closed the salons. And I gave up dyeing my hair. I gave that up probably like more than a year ago. So I am so low maintenance.
Now I'm thinking about your timing, Julie. What did you know and when did you know about it?
I do have inside scoop on things, but, or maybe a little bit psychic. But yeah, it was definitely good timing in my life for that. But I wish I knew about other things. So just getting back real quick about when things come back and open up, I think you'll probably will give everybody a week notice, don't you think?
For
You
sure.
can't just say, oh, it's open now. I mean, he's going to have to let us know at least a week ahead of time.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that everybody, you're on top of things because of what you do, right? So you need to know what's going on, especially more than the average person when things are going to open up officially. Because you need to publish that for people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on top of it because it's a small business, right? So we need to let our membership know. We can't drop the ball. We need to be aware. But not everyone is aware of the date. Like we had to ask each other off the cuff, like, are you sure it's May? So yeah, of course, definitely sending out a notice in our situation at least a week ahead. But then again, that could change, and it could change within a week before it actually being changed.
Well, and they close everybody like slow closing. Are they going to open a few, or they just, I think they're going to slow roll it out myself. I think because that's how they close things down. So
you think like maybe, I read something like this too, where you start with, gosh, what was it? Like small like shops, very, very like small business and shops first, because you can really, you could separate people easier rather than a gigantic facility like a shopping mall or even a restaurant and bar. And I guess fitness places too, even big athletic facilities and gyms would be like some of the last, because of more people being closer together, just because by the logistics of it. So
yeah, well, at least in Ohio, we really weren't like fully locked down. I was texting some friends from LA, and they were totally locked down. They weren't allowed to go anywhere. And that's because when they did the lockdown, not like the shutdown like we have, too many people were at the beach, too many people were in the parks, too many people. So they just told everybody, you can't go, you just can't go unless you absolutely need to get out. So we never at least got that bad. And I think part of it is our area here is a little more rural and more spread out.
for sure, yeah. Do you have a mask?
I don't.
Me neither.
I'm not. And this is just me personally. I know some people are wearing masks and they're very diligent about them, but I hear that if you don't handle the mask correctly, it could be worse than not having one.
Okay.
So people take the mask off and put it right in their purse, and then they'll put it back on. They wear it all week, and it's like, to me, that's worse than not wearing one, because it makes it worse for them. So and you touch your face more, and I just, me personally, I think it's more and then it actually is harder to breathe when you're wearing the mask.
Is it really? I've never worn one, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would take it from a perspective of respecting the space of other people who are concerned. I'm happy that, knock on wood, the governor has not mandated masks here in Ohio. I think there's one place at least that has done that. I don't know off the top of my head where that was. That of course, if that happened, I would guess I would wear one. But I really would not I'd rather not wear a mask. It's so jarring to me to see society full of people in America wearing masks. I can't cross that bridge. Sorry.
Well, when I do go out, and I was actually just at Walmart today, there wasn't many people. I go when not many people go. And I was, hoping there wasn't many people there today. I went around 11:30, I think, and I was able to keep my distance of people. There was not many people in the store. I didn't have to wait in line or anything. And I kept my distance. If someone was over by the eggs and I wanted eggs, I would just go look at something else and come back when they were gone. So I just kept my distance from people. I did self-checkout. The lady cleaned the machine right before I used it. She was right on the ball. And then I had to go into Walgreens for something. They have a limited capacity of 40 people, but they weren't even counting. There was no line. There was hardly anybody in the store. So if you go in like off-peak times, you can kind of avoid people. That's what I've been trying to do.
Yep.
I have been getting out and taking pictures like the one behind me, because I feel the need to, keep track of history here. And I don't think it's just me. I think people need to. I'm encouraging students that I talk to, and even people, to keep a little journal, because a year from now you're like, wow, I don't even remember. It's going to be all blur, like
Yep.
when this happened and when that happened and how that looks like, I mean, it's not going to be, hopefully this is not our future, and we're going to be looking back on this and, I wish I would have written things down more, how I was feeling. I mean, who knows, you could make a book out of it.
You could, for sure. I imagine it's going to be one of the most unique times in our history. I'm very optimistic. I don't have the empirical data to share why I feel this way, but I'm very optimistic. I think that we're gonna come back when we do. I think things are gonna be like unbelievably better even than before all this. And maybe I'm just an optimist, but that's how I feel. I think things are gonna
I
be
do too.
amazing.
I think we're going to come back this summer. I really do. I'm not sure how it's going to affect people going forward. Are they going to think twice about going to a concert or a baseball game, where you're packed in? When you think about it, we were just packed in like sardines at certain events. And are people going to think twice about that now?
Yeah, I imagine some will. I think it's expected. For sure. Yeah, that I'm sure that'll be a process. There'll be a process to that. But I think we're going to be gold. I think we're going to be golden.
Well, thank
So,
goodness for streaming,
yeah, for
right?
sure. So
Did you want to get into some entertainment?
yeah, we had a kind of off the cuff preparation for this,
Right, very
and
little.
we kind of said, how could we get off of the current situation and offer something different so that we could take you on a journey to some other thoughts and places for however long we talk for, right? That was our
Right,
plan.
exactly.
So we decided that we were going to pick a time in history, and starting with the month of April, because we're in April, right?
Right.
And go through, being that we're in 2020, we'd go back to 1980, 1990, 2000, and 2010, and look at the month of April and some events that were notable that happened, starting with April of 1980. So I'll do Casey Kasem here.
Right.
We're gonna go back to April 1980.
Don't they do that? Do 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 whenever they go back?
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna go back in time with the sound effects.
That's
And
another back in time. See, everything's a song.
Huey Lewis. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I had that album, Sports. I don't know if that song wasn't on there. That was from the Back to the Future soundtrack. But
Right, right.
I had the album Sports with like Harder Rock and Roll and If This Is It, like all that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those are like good rock out tunes. So now that we're in 1980, I must announce that I'm graduated high school in May of 1990. So
Oh,
1980.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
I know. Yes.
In 1980, I was 4.
Okay. Keep going.
No, wait. I was 4 in June, so I'm 3 3/4 right now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, in April, I hadn't graduated yet either.
But
I was probably participating in senior skip day and,
wow. I always thought, because I have 3 older brothers, right? And they're closer to you. And I always thought about the 80s in terms of them and their experiences, and me just being the younger brother. They're all grouped together, like more towards graduating when you did, and going through the 80s at that age, whereas I was just a kid, a young kid. And
well, it's really kind of funny you say that, because when I think of the 70s, that was more of the time for because I'm youngest of 6. So that was more of the time for the ones that were closest to me in age were, 5 and 6 years older than me. So I kind of consider the 70s their time, even though I was, I remember some of that, but I kind of consider like the 80s my time and the 70s their time.
Well, then let me ask you this, because we can actually kind of vibe on this, being that you were in my situation in the 70s and I was in that same situation in the 80s, and you were in the situation that my brothers were
right
in the 80s. I always look back and I say, I need to ask you which one you think here is correct, or what do you think is more accurate in your opinion. I look at the 80s as just, it would have been such a fun time to be a teenager and a young adult. It just seemed like a fun time based on what I remember, the music and just like playing outside and just the whole society in general. But then I say, is that because I was a young kid? So did you feel that way about the 70s?
The 70s were a little uneasy because of the riots and the protests and the
But you
peace
felt that
and
as a
love.
kid?
I did. I remember
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah. And, it was just kind of like a little bit of crazy time. Oh, and the other thing we were worried about is the Russians and the bombs. And we had bomb shelters in our classrooms. And so that was what we were worried about. People were building bunkers and, things like that. So to me, the 80s were a little bit more fun time because I think we kind of got out of that, we got out of the flower power, and the 80s was to me more, the music was, and the songs were a little more optimistic and fun. That just seems to be how it seemed for me.
100%. And that's how I felt about the 80s, and I still do. I was just listening to 80s music yesterday. It's just, first of all, it's all over the place. Like, it's not just one thing. As far as pop music, a lot of things crossed into it. And I think that's because of MTV started in 82, I believe.
Oh, yes.
And, so...
Yeah, so for me, it was like, I remember my first video, and it wasn't MTV. It was American Bandstand.
Wow.
Yes, and it was actually Queen. And since we're
Which
talking
one?
Queen, the group.
No, which song?
Oh, I believe, did they do, was it Bohemian Rhapsody? I'm not exactly what song it was now that I think about it. Bohemian Rhapsody was my favorite song. And I think it was like a really unique song of the time because it had opera and, all kinds of orchestral rock stuff.
In my opinion, it's brilliant.
But listen to this, because my brother, I found out about Queen because my brother listened to albums, and that was one of his albums I loved. And I just thought they were so great. And I saw them on American Bandstand with the big hair and everything. And I'm like, ooh, that's Queen? Because I was kind of like, Pauline Pureheart and everything. I'm like, wow, I didn't really picture them to look that way. But I remember that. That was, yeah. And then obviously they must have got the idea from MTV, probably from something like that, an American Bandstand. That was the thing at the time, American Bandstand.
And okay, so there was another show like that. I'm curious if this aired here in Ohio. I grew up on Long Island, so I know it aired for us. It was Dance Party USA. It was on USA Network.
We didn't have that network.
Okay, really? USA?
No.
Wow.
No.
Oh, that's surprising.
We had 4 channels. Well, the numbers wouldn't make any difference, but we had CBS, ABC, PBS, and there was one other one.
Oh, you didn't have that in your house, but Ohio had it.
No, it wasn't, I don't think it was an Ohio thing.
But you had MTV.
Because, even people in Cleveland.
But you had MTV.
Oh, well, this was later. I'm talking about when I was growing up or whatever.
But Bandstand played on right in through the 80s, too, for a good part of it,
and
right?
that played on one of those channels that I just talked about.
Oh, wow. Okay, I got you. Okay, now I'm clear.
Yeah, so I don't know when the other channels started. I remember it was like they were on the dial. And we actually had dual things because I lived in Asheville County, which is on the border of Pennsylvania. So when Channel 8 was the Cleveland station, and there was another number for Pennsylvania for that, like CBS or whatever. That was a different number. And the newscasters weren't as good in the Pennsylvania station. So we always watched the Cleveland shows. But so it was just really weird. We had like channel 3 was channel 12, and channel 8 was, I don't know, 35 or something. It was really weird. And I was the youngest, so I had to change the numbers. So
You had
that's
to get
why
up to change the channel.
I did. Yes, yes.
I had a little bit of that.
That was crazy, though.
And I was the youngest too, so you're getting up. You're
Yes,
getting up to change the channel.
Absolutely. But
Um,
yeah, the 80s music was fun, and it translated into the movies of the time. What do you have from your website there for some of the TV movies or songs?
Well, yeah. So we're using a website which goes back to April of 1980 and just lists, some like we mentioned before, some notable events.
Right.
April 2nd. This isn't music or movies. This happens to be a sports event of interest. Wayne Gretzky.
Oh.
He played his first full season, and he scored for Edmonton in a 1-1 tie with the North Star, become the youngest player to reach 50 goals at the age of 19. So the great one, Wayne Gretzky, was just starting off his career.
For those of you playing at home, that's hockey.
That's hockey, yes. You use a stick,
Yes.
and you're on skates on this ice. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're skating on ice.
Did you ever do the street hockey thing?
That was huge on Long Island. I played street hockey, and we played a thing called deck hockey. I don't know if they had that here, but it was like you played on your feet, but it was called deck, and it had like this like tile type of surface that you played with a ball instead of a puck, and you ran around. Yeah.
Oh, when I think of street hockey, I think of Mike Myers. Car. Is that from Wayne's World?
Yeah.
Where they were playing in the street a lot.
Car, CAR. Anyway, that was our thing.
Yeah. See, I lived out in Boonville, so we didn't do anything like that. So.
What do you mean Boonville?
Well, it was a rural area. It took, I don't know, 20 minutes to get to the store. I mean, we had neighbors around us, and we used to, play at their house. That's what we used to call it, playing at their house and stuff. But I mean, yeah, there was just a few families close by, and down the road was long distance because we lived in the border, all these different phone areas. So once we got rid of the party line, we still couldn't call some of my classmates because it was long distance. So yeah, it was rural. We had 2 acres, and we had animals. We had chickens, and I raised goats in high school, and it wasn't. I think street hockey is more of a city thing. Although my brothers would get together, and they did like when I was younger, they did like a neighborhood baseball thing, so that's what they had.
Did you long for, now in your adult years, do you long for that type of living, like in a more quieter area?
No, there was a time when, because we've been living in this house like 20 years now, but before that, my husband really wanted to live out in the country. He grew up in Bedford, and he really wanted to move out in the country. And it's like, been there, done that, milked the goat, and it was like, I like being close to the stores and people, and, so we found a place here in Macedonia where we actually have a little bit of acreage, not many, we only have 3. So we have a little space, but I'm like, 7 minutes from Walmart, 5 minutes from the high school, close to everybody and everything. And I wouldn't want to live back out there. And especially now, since the internet access is so bad out there. I need my internet.
They're still not, I mean, I heard that the places that are more in the country are now good with internet. Like they kind of upgraded and they're serving.
I don't think it's gotten everywhere. And there's this different mentality of living out there. Well, at least it was when I was out there. And it was really sad because we thought we weren't good enough to, work in Cleveland or get out, so to speak. And a lot of the kids I went to school with, because I went to school for computer programming, and a lot of the kids I went to school with, there was no jobs in Ashtabula for that. So a lot of people didn't get out. And I was excited to get out and some people are still there. And they like it there, but I'm just saying it's just a different way of it's different mentality, and actually things are cheaper out there.
Do you think, based on what you're saying, because you grew up there at a time where there was no internet, right? Do you
Right.
think that living in smaller places now would have been, in your case, right, would have been a lot different, and maybe even change how you feel about it, and is different now for current times because of everyone, whether the internet's slow or not, you have access to a whole nother world in your hand?
I don't think I'm really a homebody. I like getting out and going places, and I don't want to have to drive far just to go here or there. So I like how, and for example, where we live, Macedonia, is halfway between Akron and Cleveland. So that I have so many things at my disposal I can go to when we do have places that we can go.
Sure.
But growing up out there, it's like it was like a big deal to go to the Mentor Mall. That was like an hour away. Even like some of the fairs. The fair was in Jefferson every summer, and that took forever to. It wasn't just like 5 minutes. You don't just hop in your car. So I just don't like the fact how far away things are, and how you're kind of like stuck out there in my regards, and other people enjoy that, but just not me. I guess I do like being home occasionally,
Sure.
but I like being out and about and not having to drive a lot. And then the snow, when you think about it, out there, it's like I was on the streets before the snow plow, because there's just like so many roads that go on for miles. When you live in a more populated area, the streets are clear and you're out and you don't even think about it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I've never lived that far out. I've definitely had friends that lived in places that far out. When I worked in radio, I was in some different states and cities, and some people would live further away from the metro. And I always found it charming. I always found it like very peaceful. But the reality of
Great
it
place
is,
to visit.
right. Well, I guess the day to day is different than the one time visiting, or the whatever, the multiple times coming out to visit. It
And
changes.
again, some people love it out there. This is just me, I can't say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go out there and raise chickens and stuff? It's like, no, because I know what that's like. And it's like, especially when I had goats, it's like I couldn't go on dates or anything because, if I milked them at 7:00 in the morning, I had to milk them at 7:00 at night. So you had to get up early if you wanted to milk them early. I don't know. There was just a lot of work.
Can you imagine when you talk to people? Like, maybe this is an everyday thing you grew up with, but the goats are just ruining my love life. You don't understand.
I know. So, I only had them for like 3 years, and then I don't even know exactly. I think because my 4-H leader, she was the one that provided them for me. So I think we just gave them back to her, because I had a different one every year. I used to show them at the fair and everything. It was like a big thing.
That's cool.
But
I love it.
But yeah, it's like I feel like I've had my time at that, and it's like I'm on a different journey now. So
I think that now we're finding it during this month that we've been home. So like, if people are still working, so many people aren't employed, right? But if someone is still working, they're pretty much doing it from home. They're using Zoom and other things to web conference, and they're taking care of business, for lack of a better expression or word, but they're doing what they need to do online. I know my wife goes to school online, to university online, and I spoke to somebody else recently that did their master's online, and everything's good. In my opinion, the days are numbered for big universities and their inflated prices. In my opinion, people are finding that online is the way to go. The secret's out, and I think some universities are moving in that direction to offer online programs. But I think that's a paradigm that's shifting and is about to never look back.
yeah, I kind of agree with you in some respects. This was all happening even before this happened.
Sure.
There was less people can afford college, and I really think that for some of the degrees that you were getting, a 2-year program at some tech school, you get a really nice job. You don't need to go through all of that um, psychology and sociology, for certain jobs. You didn't really need all of that education now that it's so expensive. There's still some professions I do still believe, like nursing and medical and some, high level things, but a lot of jobs nowadays don't require, or more technical, and they don't require a college education, maybe more of a technical education. And a lot of that information can be taught online. Now there's certain things like labs, chemistry, and they're going to have to figure out how to do some of that stuff, in a lab. But there's a ton of stuff that you can learn online. For sure.
I couldn't believe it. My wife's in a bio class. She's not majoring in pre-med or anything that's going too deep into that, but they sent her the kit for the experiment.
Oh wow, she does a lab at home then.
That's why I couldn't believe it.
That's so cool.
I mean, nothing like toxic or like dangerous to open up around the house.
Not going to blow up your apartment.
The DNA of a strawberry, seeing how that arrives when whatever the experiment was. But I found it fascinating because I was like, how's this going to play out? How are you going to do a bio?
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So make sure you keep that kit separate from your meal kit that you ordered, right?
Well, it works out well for me, because somebody's got to eat the strawberries after done with the experiment. And I will raise my hand to eat any leftover food at any time, pretty much. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, I know a lot of times the schools would order those owl pellets and different things that they had to dissect. They would order them from a place. So I guess going forward, if they had to do it, they could actually ship those to each student where they could do it at home.
I'm going back with you to this, right? The frogs and the formaldehyde, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want that in my home.
I'm just saying, they can do it now, right?
I believe they can. And it's you think about telehealth. If it's happening in the real world, why isn't it happening at the learning level?
And all of this, isn't it kind of interesting how all this really started before this? All the technology was there. When you think about it, there's more people wanting to use drive-thrus now. We just had a bunch of restaurants add drive-thrus right before this happened. So you think I'm not the only one that's psychic. More kiosks, more restaurants without people. When you think about it, remember, McDonald's and a lot of restaurants are having kiosks, so they couldn't hire people. Maybe there is a paradigm shift, where there's actually going to be less people working where, if you go to the store, there'll be less people there,
It could be.
Less workers there.
I do miss sitting down at a restaurant. I miss that a lot. I also miss, I practice yoga here in the home and I work out. It's not the same. I'll be the first one to say it. I mean, it's totally not the same. Part of the whole deal of everything we do is to get in a new environment. I mean, that's just wherever you're going and whatever you're going to be doing, it's part of the process. Like here, I'm going to go out to eat, meet my friends, we go with my family to the restaurant. Yeah, the food's great, right? We know that because we're still eating from all these restaurants that stay open.
The ones that stay open. Mm-hmm.
But we sit down and we get to a new environment and we can talk and connect outside the home. There's something to that, no matter what it is you're going to do. We need that. I need that. Yeah,
for some things I think we're getting by, and other things we won't be doing once this is, everything's out in the open.
What do you think? What's one? Just one that jumps out at you the most?
One that is probably not going to be the same one, something that we're doing now that we probably won't be doing once everything's open. Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, just like one thing that's just going to change 100% because we realize a different way from this.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I think this whole Zoom thing has opened up my eyes to a lot of opportunities going forward, even when everything opens up. I think this is a great way for me to interview people.
Yeah.
Because this can be recorded while we're doing this. Can you think of what normally, if you and I sat down and we were going to videotape our interview, you have to set up the 2 cameras and the lighting and all this and all that. And it's like, look how easy this was.
It's insane, honestly. And going back to the 80s part of our conversation.
Oh, yes.
Think about the Jetsons. Watching that as a kid when it was like, ding, and someone's face appeared on the screen. How did that magically happen in our lives? Like, how is this normal now? You know what I mean? Like, how did that happen? Like that was
Exactly. I remember, she got like food out of like that microwave thing, I mean, that's a thing. Oh, he was walking on the treadmill with the dog.
yes, and all these things were so far out, and now they're here.
Astro. Astro.
Rostro. I feel like
That's right, Borge.
don't you feel like Astro and Scooby Doo are the same dog?
Yeah, they really are very similar. I think they're cousins.
It's like Astro Scooby Doo from the future.
But if you want to go back a little bit more on the Lucy show, they actually had the skit where they had a FaceTime basically. So
Really?
you could be like like seeing the person you were talking to on the phone. And there was some guy in her house that wasn't supposed to be there, wink, wink. And he was trying to hide. So he was out of the shot, but that was way back. I believe that was like even in the 70s where they had that. And it's like, we didn't have that technology then where you could see who you were talking to.
You know what? It just, honestly, I don't want to let myself ever get so jaded to where I don't think that this is amazing. Because it is.
Even my kids talk about how amazing our technology is and, how fast things are changing. And, even our phones from 5 years ago are so archaic. And I just love technology and I love all the new stuff. So that's why I like the Zoom. And I'm going to be doing it for interviews and all kinds of stuff going forward because more people are going to have it on their computers now. And more people are going to know how to use it. And it is easy. But I think there's some classes that, like, for example, school, like high school and elementary school, I think regular learning in the classroom is better than telelearning. My daughter had to do classes online because she had surgery back in 2009, and she missed the classroom, and she said she learns better in the classroom setting. So I think the way the kids are doing the e-learning now is okay. It's not to replace the classroom learning. And by the way, just so you know, I don't know about other schools, but Nordonia is, obviously that's where I'm currently residing. They do a lot of e-learning. They had all this set up ahead of time. All the kids had Chromebooks and you had to use them and they had the technology ahead of time. And some schools did not have that. So it's becoming the schools, are probably the ones that don't are putting that plan in effect for next year. You can bet.
Well, yeah, especially after this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't get caught flat-footed just because they already had it going on. Yeah, the last musical thing I was thinking about, just because we're talking about the 80s, to get out of the heavy, well, I don't know if it's so heavy at this particular moment for us speaking about current events. We were kind of being optimistic about things.
Yes, we are.
But to stay on our 80s theme, I was thinking about video killed a radio star, right?
Oh, yeah. Right.
But and then YouTube killed a video star. And what's going to be next? Who knows?
Everybody always wants to know that. I remember when CDs were the big thing. Like, wow,
Right.
how are we going to do better than a CD, And then I have it around here somewhere. The very first iPod. It was a little device. It was like a little white case, and it was very small, and it held 100 songs.
It's amazing.
And, it was basically kind of like almost like a jump drive, but you could, go from song to song. And that was like the coolest thing. And, jumping back in time, my brother had a transistor radio taped to his bicycle.
Wow.
So it's like, we've come a long way, baby.
Do you remember, like, so one thing I think that lacks when you have everything done for you through an app, right? Like, for example, okay, I remember riding, because you talk about your brother on a bicycle. I remember riding a bicycle, a little BMX bike, whatever, in the street as a kid, and putting the baseball card in the spokes to make it go like a motorcycle sound.
Yes.
And just having to be inventive, because and use your imagination and what you had around you. But now it's like even on the phone, I like music and making music when I can, and having to create it from an instrument, or if you're even like a DJ and like using turntables or whatever, you have an app now, and it's like you can make the most amazing samples and different things put together from an app, and there's no skill really to it. There's really not.
Right.
And the creativity is already prepackaged into what effects that they have there. I don't know. I think that there's something great about that, but then there's also something that's missing from that.
Well, it kind of goes back to the vinyl was still popular, and it
Yep.
was like, so some old stuff is still really, really good. And you want those little scratches and,
Yep.
that sound that's not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it funny?
Well, yeah, it is funny to think like, well, geez, we had the real thing and it wasn't that great,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, the other thing I was thinking of when you talked about phone, something you were talking about a party line or the phone before.
Yeah, party line, yeah.
Remember busy signals?
Oh yeah, busy signal. Yes. Yes. I mean, well, even landlines,
I
I
know.
don't think anybody ever thought they'd ever get rid of their landline.
What about dialing with the?
Oh, yes. Well, let me tell you, my phone number was 998 blah blah blah. It was like,
Oh,
yes, it took me, forever. And if you got it wrong, you'd have to hang up and start again.
it's crazy, to think that how much has changed in such a pretty short period of time. To think, and I feel like because we were around in the 80s, when we're referencing some of these things, as far as like a rotary phone and a phone with a cord and no call waiting,
Right.
that it seems like it would have been 150 years ago or more, but it's not. And then everything got so uh, so advanced so fast.
I still think there's a lot of creativity being done. I mean, there's people that are, putting the beats on and stuff and then just singing with it, and being more creative with their writing, the words. Maybe they're like not focused so much on the background and some of that, and it kind of goes with some records are made now with like not even real instruments. I couldn't think of that word. It's like they have generated music where they don't even get the musicians, the studio musicians to make the music anymore. So I don't know. I don't like to see some of that stuff going away. And there's reasons why we did things old school. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to talk about when you were talking about we used to make things with our hands and stuff. Number one, I must say, from following along on Facebook and Pinterest, people are crafting like crazy right now. So there's still that going on. But my parents grew up in the Depression era, and my dad always tried to make everything. We called it Mickey. He would Mickey Mouse stuff together. He would like make his own version of it, or try to fix it himself. Which sometimes worked out and sometimes didn't. But it was like back then, you didn't like buy something; you made it. You pieced together. You didn't get a new vacuum cleaner. You had parts of old ones sitting around and you fixed it yourself. But you could fix it. Now our vacuum cleaners have chips in them, so we can't
Yeah.
really fix them like we used to. But that whole thing is like it's a throwaway society. Things don't last long and you can't fix it. Even if you had the technology, they don't want you to fix it. And you just throw away and buy another one.
Yep. Yeah, I remember some things, some other examples like that, as you were speaking about that type of throwaway society. Uh, there's always a give and a take, right? There's always a pro and a con. So I think that the technology is so wonderful as a tool, as a way to help us do what we want to do. Um, I think though, artificial intelligence should never cross into the area of replacing us, because they doesn't have a soul, and I'm a big fan of the human race. I'm a big fan of humans. Maybe I'm biased because I am one, but we should always use that stuff as a tool.
Well, I
And
think especially for musicians, I mean, I don't really think an AI, oh, it would make, maybe you can replace it, but I don't think you should if you could, you know what I mean?
yes, yeah, because it can get out of control. But yeah, we just keep everything in its proper place. Are we ready to go to the 90s?
Well, we have 5 minutes left. I really think we should try to
Oh my
keep this to
God.
an hour. I don't think people are going to listen to us for more than an hour.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Well, the
So,
80s we were so spectacular.
the only thing that, and I can say about the 90s, just to talk about real quick, is that is when rock and roll died.
You think so?
Yep. And it was, oh gosh, what's his name? It was a band,
Nirvana.
gosh, Nirvana. Yes, Nirvana killed rock and roll. Back in the day, I had an internet radio station. This was back in the early 20s. And I interviewed 3 bands, and they didn't know each other or anything. And they all said the same thing, that their rock and roll career ended when Nirvana started his band up. And that was like the end of the big hair bands and the rock and roll. And I didn't even see that. I just happened to interview these bands, and they all told me the same thing. And I didn't even realize that was a thing. It's one of those things where it happens, you don't even look back and say, wow, that was a big hinge.
It was the beginning of grunge and alt rock. He did kill. He did the kill shot to hair bands.
Yes.
But rock and roll. I mean, it was still rock. It's still rock music. In fact, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame still has. They have an exhibit featuring Nirvana or Kurt Cobain.
Oh, I think he was a genius and everything. And you know what? I think maybe we needed a change. We had that big hair stuff we had that for a decade, and I think we needed a change. I think there's, everything happens for a reason, and we can't keep going on the way we're going and things. I think we're in a huge reset right now in everything. So I think out of this, in fact, I know some student who is in LA right now writing a ton of scripts, and he's like stuck in there. I think there's going to be a lot of really creative stuff coming out of this, and we're not going to see it for a while because it takes a while for them to get their things in motion. But I think there's going to be something new coming out of this in all the arts, music, and TV shows. And although, gosh, I think we've had enough movies about quarantines and stuff like that, though. I hope although, okay, I must admit, I did a marathon of Zombieland last night because Zombieland 2 Double Tap came out, so we had to watch them both. Yeah, there's too many pandemic movies and stuff. I hope they don't come up with more of those.
Oh boy. Yeah, I agree with you about the reset. I definitely think it's not just America. It's going to be a global reset.
Yes.
For sure. I'm not, Mary, my wife, she's into the Netflix. Did catch up on Maisel? Watch that? Mrs. Maisel on Amazon. I don't know if you know it.
Yes.
Caught up on that?
I saw it in the beginning. I don't know why. I don't know. I watched the first season. I just couldn't get into it anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. Ozark was phenomenal. I don't know if you caught the new season of Ozark.
I'm actually in that right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I won't give anything away.
No, I was a little behind on Ozark, and I'm like, oh, everybody's talking about Ozark, and I totally missed the second season, so I had to watch that. And I really enjoyed that, but it's like the beginning of the third season is a little weird for me. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. You know how when they have a new season, it takes you a while to get used to it. So.
Especially there's so much time between the last season of Ozark and the current one. It was a huge gap of time. I will say it's worth the wait as you continue to watch.
Good. Okay. I even remember in the second season, there was some slow times where you almost wanted like do your knitting or something while you're watching it.
I think they call that? They have to set the foreground, or they have to set. Yeah,
they have to, basically set it up, But yeah, there is a movie term for that.
I did come across at the moment. On my scroll, there was something, a huge hit on YouTube. It just came out a couple of days ago. My friend kind of set me to it. It's called Out of Shadows. It's a documentary if anyone's into that.
Cool.
Something different. Might want to check that out. So it's lots of time to explore new things.
Absolutely. Well, I'm reviewing some books. I have a stack of books that I'm reviewing because I'm starting a Red Writers Circle on NordoniaHills.news, basically featuring, different authors. They don't have to be from authors around here. It's just that people that people in this area do read, so the author doesn't have to be from around here, but in some cases they are. Oh, and we have a recurring story from a local author. It's about Paris. It's Paris in 2018. So
Oh, that's
there's
cool.
a lot of new stuff coming up. It's like, this is very good time for me because it's like I have the time to set up some new things. I'm going to take advantage of it.
A time of renaissance.
Absolutely. This is what we're doing. We're in a revolution right now.
The Great Awakening. It's here.
Hope I didn't get any on you.
Hey, where's your mask?
I did this.
Come on. Hey, promise me next time we can talk about the 90s.
Yeah, we'll do the 90s next time. I think we have to do a decade of show because we get off topic and we go into other places that are nice, but I don't think we could talk about. I think it's probably going to take us the whole show next time to talk about the 90s and everything else that's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed this. I hope everyone else did. You never know. You never know, right? We'll
yeah, it could go either way. But you know what? They can tune out anytime they like. They don't have to watch the whole thing.
That's true.
You're not going to make them.
This is a choice.
That's right.
So anyway, thank you.
And then we'll do the next one maybe next month.
All right. That sounds good.
Yeah. And, we'll see.
Well, hopefully everything is opened back up by then. And we could all get back to getting into the world and just doing what we do and connect as people in public again and get on with our lives and enjoy it, hopefully. So
in the meantime, Zoom.
Yeah, in the meantime, Zoom.
Oh, yeah, but there was a show, PBS show back in the day when I was a kid called Zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. I don't know if you ever watched that.
One of my brothers used to do this song, and he would tell me about it. But that was a little flew under my radar. I never really saw what it was about.
Yes, well, at least you heard about it. So that's what I think of when people talk about Zoom now. So.
Well, everything comes back if you give it enough time. Yeah,
like the bell bottoms. Are you wearing bell bottoms right now?
No, I'm wearing Lee pinstripe pants.
I think I have Eeyore jammy pants on right now.
Very, very nice. And
why not? Why not? Right?
I was hot, so I wore the short sleeve, but I did have a sham shirt with zippers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got my Ohio State rocking.
You remember the sham shirts with the zippers?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and the Lees were the 80s pants with the pinstripes.
Yeah, and the women wore the Gloria Vanderbilt jeans.
Yeah, there was like that was Ooh La La Sassoon.
Oh, Sassoon, yes. Well, Gloria Vanderbilt had them too, though.
Was she
But they, the jeans have really evolved. That's a whole nother show.
Didn't she pass away? Well, she passed away this year
I believe it's not been too long, which means it was probably 2 years ago. I mean, that's the way my life is, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't even.
Time flies, man.
Really does.
I can't believe we're in almost mid-April here.
If I start thinking about that, it makes me anxious. It's moving too fast. But
it's true. But we're kind of slowing down now. So we're what they say, they're smelling the flowers, or what is that?
Smelling the roses, is that it?
Smelling the roses, yeah. Guns and Roses. Pow, pow, pow.
Now we're heading into the 90s. I know they're late 80s technically, but hitting their peak in the 90s.
Yeah, that is a big thing. Like some bands start off in the 80s and were able to get through the 90s.
Nirvana actually kind of killed Guns N' Roses too, to a lesser degree than like Poison, but
thank goodness we have them, to listen to.
Yes, and we can
Even
always
though
go
they
back.
Don't have new music, so. Well, anyways, I think we should wrap this up. Oh my God, it's 3:05, Andrew.
I know we really, every time we talk, we're not short for conversation.
Never. Well, till next time.
Yes, same channel, same place.
Yes, exactly. See you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care.